Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Jerry,
I'm Ryan.
and this is Two Brothers Off Script. We got a tough topic today. We're talking about um, racism and how our society deals with the differences between us. It's a difficult topic. It's one that certainly has hurt lots of people. And as a father to a couple of black kids, it's something that I think about a lot because of how it's going to affect them, and it's something that I think in some way, especially with the news that's going on right now in the society, it's something that we have to at least think about, regardless of where people come down on the political divide. I don't think there's ever going to be an excuse for behaviors that discriminate against people or that try to, separate and divide us as a society. So we're going to try to talk about it today, not in a neutral way, but in a way that's respectful to people who have different views than we do, and also with a mindset that we recognize that we're imperfect, and we really hope that this maybe starts some commentary and starts some discussion that we can try to participate in. So, with that,
That's really the only way you can.
that's the only way you can
approach these things is you have to have the discussion that, and I know from some people's perspective, as two white guys, we're not going to have uh, every perspective on this thing. We're not going to be able to cover all the topics. And like today at work, I asked a couple of my black coworkers, what their opinions on things like this were. I said, this is a subject that I'm thinking about talking about, and I would like some insight on that, because I'm not exactly an investigative journalist, but like I would say that I always want to deliver an honest opinion, especially something I don't want to be ignorant to the facts that people have to deal with in everyday life. And so I asked some specific questions, and one of the questions I asked was, have you ever been a victim of direct racism? And the answer was no, for one of the guys, and then the other guy's actually he's a Muslim immigrant from Africa, but he's not a terrorist. He doesn't have any intent to be, as far as I can tell. But I kind of think that if I made a judgment call based on that little bit of information, like the fact that he is Muslim, the fact that he is from Africa, and the fact that he's a black man, like maybe it's racist if I ever even had the thought, that he could be anything other than what he is without getting to know him as a person. And I was just thinking about how if someone could read my mind, maybe one of their superpowers was mind reading, and they came across my thoughts, and I am a scatterbrain most of the time, but when I'm on a topic, my brain just kind of runs in all the possible negatives and all the benefits, and I just kind of try and see everything on that topic. Just what I might know and what I might think about are not always, let's say, flushed out ideas. Like I don't know everything, so I can't say that. But if I ever had the thought in my head that this person, because of their skin color or their religion, they are a certain way, then that would definitely be coming across as racism, whether or not I actually said it or did it.
And just from the way that you were thinking.
Yeah, just from the way I was thinking. And it's like I like to sing along with music, especially when I know the words. And I like to listen to rap music. But does it make me a racist if I sing along to the bad parts of the song? And I asked them that question too. And the answer was no. Like, I don't see why it would make me one, but I might be perceived as if I was to
By somebody who didn't know you, or by and setting and context obviously matter.
Yeah. So I'm at a stoplight, singing loud, and the windows are down, and a car rolls up next to me, and I look left right about that part in the song, and I see that I'm accompanied by a pair of black gentlemen, do I continue the song and pretend they don't exist, or do I just stop the song, turn it down real low, roll up my windows like that guy in Office Space, and try not to be noticed? So is it more racist the fact that I was trying to respect them by not saying the word, or is it racist that they thought I was just I'm hardcore racist and I only didn't say the word because, or I love rap music because that's when I get to say the word, or something like that? I mean, how does it? It's perception.
So I think when I look at, obviously, I come from a place where, I guess now, the last 15, 16 years of my work life, I've had a lot of anti-discrimination training. So it starts off with the basics, right? Don't discriminate against people based on their race or their sex or their age or a disability, the country of origin or their sexual orientation. Don't discriminate on those things. Just you look at the facts of someone's ability to perform a job, or your best estimation of their ability to perform the job, especially in interviewing, and you make an educated decision, because all of those other factors are considered to be not job effective, and they're also federally protected traits.
Right.
Okay? So, at the same time as that happens, and that's the law of the land, I know many, and I'll expand the topic a little bit to be discrimination in general. I know that there are many people who are older in life, of every race, and who are trying to find a job, and who are in some ways age discriminated against because they're not going to be able to work for a company for 30 years.
Right.
Even though the reality is most of us don't work for companies for 30 years anymore. I have African American friends that I've had at many stages of my life, and I know that throughout my training we did for adoption, the idea that people are colorblind to me now is something that I understand is, or I believe is incorrect. I think it's wrong to say I'm colorblind and so I don't see people's race, when it's like saying, oh, I didn't notice that you had on a nice outfit today, or I didn't notice that you had on an ugly outfit today. It's an adjective for the person. My daughters are beautiful, and they have beautiful black skin and beautiful black hair, and I love how they look. And I talk with them a lot because our oldest daughter, Olivia, has said, as part of our process of adoption, we've talked with her about this. She said, I wish I had white skin. Mm-hmm. Now, she's 8 years old. She doesn't have a frame of reference to understand that one is better or not, but she understands that she feels different sometimes. And we have, from the time that we adopted her at 11 months old, we've talked to her about being beautiful and special, and that we love her for who she is. And we are actively pursuing those positive encouragements of her. Mm-hmm. But when the 9-year-old boy at the school says that my black daughter has poop-colored skin, it as a father, I want to wring the little kid's neck.
Right.
And I'll beat up his dad too. I really don't care. And the emotional reaction, the visceral reaction is there. Is that racism? No. That's a kid being a bully at school.
Right.
Right? He could have picked on her for numerous other things.
But he picked
skin color.
Right.
And so, because it's children, it's not, in my world, it's not racism at least at that age.
Right, because there's no hate there.
There's no hate there. There's no real understanding of what these differences are. It seems like, though, as we see people move into their teenage years, that's where you really start to see this visceral tribalism start to kind of like rear its ugly head. And it's, again, much broader than just race.
Right.
But it's cliques and groups, and we were talking about, the toxic online video game community.
Yeah, so I asked him, have you ever been a direct victim of racism? And he said no. He'd never been called the N-word before, to his face. But he didn't count it as the same thing, surprisingly, when he's playing NBA 2K 2017 or whatever it was. He was getting it thrown at him all the time on the video game because people, they're brave when they're not face to face with the actual victim of their words. Was his explanation of it. But he didn't take it personally necessarily, and maybe that's some sort of, I wouldn't say progress. I mean, it's still, the word does not have any positive connotation. And that's why I don't think, like, if I could do one thing to save, like, just the black-white racism issue, I would say that the N-word should not be allowed to be said. Not even referenced by saying the N-word. No representation of the N-word by calling somebody a thug or something like that. Like, don't replace the word with other words. Focus on the one word and just say, it's now a crime to say that. Not freedom of speech, but just it's now a crime because the word
is offensive.
It is designed as an offensive word. It's translated now as an offensive word. There is no positive. It doesn't matter if you end it with an A or an It is the same word just because you say it to your friend or just because there's groups of white people running around who say it as long as nobody can hear them or just because it's in a song. The fact that the word still exists basically creates that vacuum. Like it's in a sense racist for one person to be able to say something and another person not to be able to say it. If you take away the stigmatism of the word, you take away its power. And if you can take away the power of the word, then you cannot be hurt by the word. And it loses all that gravity that makes it such a negative. So either everybody can say it or no one can say it.
Yeah.
And to do that would be, it's the same thing as if I was calling a little person a midget and sorry if anyone watches that, I'm not trying to be offensive, but if you pick on a Mexican person or a little person or a native or an Asian person or an Asian or a Jewish person or whatever, and you say the word that has no other meaning, it has no benefit. Like I get cracker, but it's I've never been called a cracker. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I don't know.
But it's designed. The word is intended to be a slur and disrespectful, right? That it's understood purpose. And so, from your perspective, like just.
I was told today by a white guy who has black family that the word actually originated as a term for a thief. So if you're a rapper and you're running around telling, or you're on your song saying the word, you're basically saying thief, 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 thief. And that's, well, I could understand. I'm not a thief. I don't want to be called a thief.
Yeah.
So take away the word, and you can't eliminate the issue of racism. People are still going to not like people because of their skin.
It's a step of progress, is what you're saying.
But you do it broad form. You say no one can say these are, like Carlin used to say, these are the 7 words you can't say. You take that 7-word list, you put it out there, and if there's witness or threat of, like I would say that 90% of people won't say the word anymore for fear of the traffic cam or the audio, like maybe your Alexa in your house, picks up the word and says, "Oop, you're getting a fine on your Amazon account."
It's such a hard thing.
We're eventually going to have that audio monitoring.
I'm a very pro-liberty person. I want people to have freedom to do things. I want people to have freedom to do things privately. And so that's why the reason I say this is so the idealist in me says, look, there's hateful people, let the hateful people be hateful, let them go off into a corner and be hateful by themselves, right?
But they teach it. They teach it to other people.
And the challenge
is
say,
you can't be this way, and then all of a sudden create a new one.
And my challenge is I don't want the government to have collected a tax dollar from me to hire and train a police officer, to hire and train a public attorney, to hire and train a judge, to build a courthouse, and after all this, to give somebody a fine because they used the wrong word. But I'm not arguing against your...
I know, but
what I'm saying is like that's where it's hard for me when I come from that kind of a background. At the same time, though, there's an economic cost to racism.
Right.
There's an economic in every form, and discrimination as well, in its broader forms. There's an economic cost to to businesses and individuals not having relationships because of race, religion, country of origin, age, marital status. There's an economic cost. You don't get the ideas. You don't get the free flow of information. You don't get the sharing and trading of joy, right? It can't be possible if everybody's segregated into their small little, whatever divisions, right?
You cannot have, let's call it an only group, right? This is any group that specifically says because you are not part of our group, you're not allowed in.
Well, you've got like the
I understand that there's
the Amish, right? So the Amish have segregated themselves out, but they still have problems inside their communities.
Yeah, I mean,
they still have groups of people. There's all kinds of issues.
Isn't there the Amish Mafia, or was that all fake for TV?
I don't have any idea. But my point is, certainly people do have the ability to separate themselves out from society. But to have a functioning society, your society needs to be able to get along and have, I think, common courtesy to the best of its ability. I just fear for an all-powerful government, be it at the state level, that has the ability to like hear you in your home, say some nasty crap.
Well, you don't want it to happen that way.
I know.
There has to be certain things out there. I mean, Alexa jumps on when we weren't even talking to her all the time, so I know she's listening.
So I hear your pitch. Yeah, she's recording. Maybe she's recording everything you say for better speech recognition.
I just want to get it across that no matter what the monitoring system would be, whether there's an actual monitoring system or not, and I talk about that, I say 90% of people wouldn't say it for fear of that someone would report them or that they would get caught in this process just because, hey, it's illegal, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of law-abiding people out there
that want to do the right thing.
Eventually, every little chip you can take away on this iceberg of racism, eventually people will literally forget that racism existed and will just all go on living and say, you're my black friend, you're my white friend, you're my Asian friend. Like it won't even be a thing that people talk about because you are you and I am me and we interact every once in a while, and it's not just colorblind, it's literally not focusing on any part of the person that could possibly perceive as a negative. Right now I have to mince my words to get my point across that I don't care what color you are, I don't care if you're different than me. You know, like there's a fun little video. It's called The Interview. It's a terrible movie. It's on Netflix. And Franco in this one says,
"This is the North Korea one."
Yeah, this is the North Korea one, and he is such an ignorant character.
Don't watch that movie.
It's terrible. But he has a line. You can just see it in it. Says, "We are same, but different." Different. We are same, but we are different. It's a
horrible movie.
It's completely off character. But the whole point is he's ignorantly trying to say, no matter how different you are than me, I am the same as you. I am just a person living my life, and I want to live it with you. And that's a very rough translation from a terrible movie. But
so here's my pitch. I think that I tend to think again. Like on the policy level, right? On a governmental level. For me as a parent, I know that my wife and I are actively teaching our daughters, to the best of our ability, age-appropriate discussions about race. Mm-hmm. There are, and I will say I'm grateful now in a way, because there's kids shows. I don't remember this being true when I was a kid, but there are kids shows right now where on the kids show there are characters of multiple different races. Mm-hmm. There are children in wheelchairs. There are children who deal with other types of
lifestyles,
life issues, yeah. Right? And there's this exposure at this very low level of children to a not all white palette.
I mean, since I've been a kid, there's always been a black kid or an Asian kid or something. Like you can see that picture.
Right. So that they call that tokenism, right? They take one of a race and they put it into, they put it into the show.
Hey, Power Rangers is a good example.
Saved by the Bell, right? There's one African American girl, right? And Slater is, I don't know what Slater is, Hawaiian, but there's this.
You're racist.
Well, but my point is, maybe he's Latino. I'm not sure, but my point is that obviously they are picking these characters not for who they are, right? They're picking them
that they
to
play.
fit this character based on how they look. Okay, so that's happening. So we're teaching our kids about slavery. Mm-hmm. We've taught our kids we watch videos about the absolute amazing things that the Egyptians did. We watch videos about, we just watched a video about a girl playing chess in Uganda. Mm-hmm. I mean, we watch videos about this kind of stuff to try to expose them to lots of things. And I think that as a parent, I now, because I have black children, I'm more aware of this. I don't know if I would have done this if I only had white children. But I'm so grateful because my white children and my black children are experiencing these things together.
Right.
And my girls have, black dolls and white dolls.
Right.
They have pictures on the wall of, there's this beautiful picture we got from Africa when we were there of this African lady from Ethiopian lady, and it's a gorgeous picture, and it's hanging right up in our wall. So, we make these active things. From a policy perspective, at a social level, I think there needs to be an abolishment of the ability to sue over hurt feelings. Because that you were talking about this illustration of every time this issue comes up, it's like pulling off a Band-Aid. Right? And I feel like these lawsuits are the same kind of thing, because a lawsuit generates press activity. The press activity reinflames hurt feelings by people who didn't know about the lawsuit, and now you've got more people angry about the hurt feelings that somebody else had. If your feelings are hurt, that shouldn't be reason to sue. Mm-hmm. It just shouldn't be. It's not good for the society, especially when you talk about suing public institutions. We're going to sue the police department. We're going to sue a school. We're going to sue the city hall. We're going to sue the building department. We're going to sue, the museum. We're going to sue these public institutions that everybody has to pay taxes for. And this is not just white people or black people or Asian people or people with different worldviews. This is all kinds of people have the right to sue public institutions over offense. If an atheist can sue the public library because they don't like the nativity display that's out front at Christmas time, that's a waste of taxpayer money.
Yeah, and they pay taxes, so they're basically suing themselves. But
yeah, and the
small victory.
But they're only trying to sue to change the behavior, but they'll get money anyway.
Right. Even
if it's just to cover lawyers' fees. So then the society has to pay for the person's offense, and if it doesn't work, then the next year they'll sue again because, they can.
I would like to know what our legal defense fund is in Seattle area anyways, because this is a very liberal area, and everyone is included on everything all the time. So each individual building must have its own black room, white room. Well, sorry, there's never going to be a white room again. It won't happen. You're not allowed to have a whites only room, unfortunately, because that would be racist.
Well, and
if you can have a blacks only group, or a Mexican only group, or an Asian only group,
the argument is, well, we haven't had power, so it's okay for us to have this group.
But without the inclusion,
and there certainly are groups that say that they are exclusive, right? And so what that really means is that they're going to look at you and they're going to potentially judge you or not let you in.
Well, it's the
because there
are income housing initiative
over
that's going on right now with you. You're saying that there's we've got, you have to give $1 million condos to low-income families.
Well, you have to have some percentage of the building.
Right.
In many cities, not in every city, but in many cities, some percentage of the building or of development in that area must include low-income housing. Mm-hmm. So what that means is you're going to artificially lower the standards that you would have built to, and you're going to artificially lower the rent.
Yeah.
And you're going to put people in that building.
Well, they're
and
getting
that'll
a
allow
subsidy.
their children, or they'll get a subsidy, and that will allow their children to go to the better schools, which is good, but it's this forced government, power of cramming people together based on not their desire to be together or their ability to be together.
Well, you force someone out. If this guy could afford to pay for the $1 million condo, but he was getting the last ticket, and then someone else came along and said, well, I'm low-income housing and you have to let me in. And I need my grants, and that's going to pay for my housing so my kid can go to school in this neighborhood. And that guy has to go move out to the suburbs.
And it doesn't that person, right? A low-income person doesn't mean a certain race of a person.
No.
It means somebody who's not able to afford it, right? And it gets twisted up when you hear news reports because the only stories it feels like the stories that get reported on are about race. I personally really enjoy listening to NPR right now. I really enjoy listening to it. And the reason I say that is because I feel like their international news coverage specifically is better than what I can hear on maybe a more conservative channel. The more conservative channels tend to talk more about domestic issues, and I want to hear about domestic issues, but I also want to hear about what's going on in other places in the world. When Trayvon Martin was shot, the headline into and out of that discussion every single time was that a black teenager, unarmed black teenager, was shot by a white Hispanic, was eventually what they got down to saying. Okay? Now, there wasn't a reason, in my view, to continue to use that tagline on the in and out of every single time they do a radio segment. A black teenager was shot by a white Hispanic.
Well, it's the ticker at the bottom
But
of the news.
that's to draw attention to racism while at the same time not providing any relief to the society. There's no out.
I've got it.
Good, you got 2 minutes.
Okay, so here's the final. On that little box that you fill out on your application, it says, are you black, white, Hispanic white, or non-white, Asian, or Caucasian, non-Hispanic, I think is the terminology. And then Hispanic, and then there's like other, and then something, none of the above. I don't even know if that's an option anymore.
It's ridiculous.
But just start making your own box, right? Make your own box, right? None of the above, or write American or something like that, and put check. I guess then it would be a anti-immigrant law then, or anti-immigrant thing at that point. Just put human, okay?
Human.
All
there
right?
you go.
So you can focus.
Write in human. Hashtag write in human.
Yeah, we'll drop that. I'm gonna open up the Twitter.
Maybe that could be our title today. Hashtag human.
Yeah, so you can check us out on Twitter if you want. There is an account. I've created it. I've never checked in on it, so I have no idea. Probably
We'll put it in the description.
It's Two Brothers Off Script, as far as I know. But I've kind of gotten into Twitter lately, just to follow Donald Trump's tweets. They're insane. I get it. The dude's off his rocker, but he's different than everybody else, and the system was broken and it needed to be fixed.
We'll see how.
Hopefully, the next guy.
He's got 3 years and change.
He might not even have that.
Three,
if he keeps
3 years
going,
and 10 months.
I understand that everybody has an opinion, and his is oftentimes delivered without any filter, and that might be the problem. But he's not the worst thing in the world right now. The worst thing in the world right now is the fact that somebody is cutting somebody's head off.
Yeah.
And the fact that people are not getting their coffee the right temperature is not a big enough issue to sue somebody or to say that this is a black issue or white issue or anyone else. Sorry, we can't discuss everyone every time and eat too much time. But we are all just people. And for the most part, we're all American, and we all have people in our lives that are different than us. And focusing on the differences does not change the fact that we're just people.
Right.
So if you want to live your life and you want to be happy, I think that a big part of that is just living your life and not trying to live someone else's for them. So people who are pro this or pro that and force that down your throat to like, I don't have white guilt. I never will. I was born this way, you know, to quote Lady Gaga. And I'm not going to Lady Gaga, as I was saying during the Super Bowl. Terrible performance.
All right.
But that's my theory. Is just, you know, be you, and I'm going to be me, and I'm not going to focus on the fact that you're different than me. I just want to have the discussion. Knowledge is power.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.
See ya.